What is up, guys? It's a Fluffy Angel here. Welcome back to the channel, and today I wanted to give my first impressions of Blue Exorcist. This has been a series I've been wanting to read for a very long time. Back when I first started collecting manga, I actually picked up the volumes 2 through 7, but I actually never picked up volume 1 for whatever reason. And if you watch my last video, this past month, I actually had bought the first volume, and I figured now is a good a time as ever to read it and kind of give my general impressions and feeling towards it, so that way I can decide if it's a series I want to pick up, or if it's a series I want to drop, or ultimately get rid of in my collection. When I read a new series, I actually like to read the first arc, because typically, especially with shonen manga, they hype up the first 2 or 3 chapters, and it's designed that way, and it's in a formula to kind of keep the reader on edge, kind of keep them wanting to come back and read more. But I like to get kind of like over that hump and see what the series is really about. And so for this, I actually wanted to read through the whole first arc of Blue Exorcist, which is the Exorcist Cram School arc. And that consists of 7 chapters. In terms of the English releases by Viz, it's the first 2 volumes. And without further ado, I want to give you my impressions of the story. Basically, the story of Blue Exorcist follows a young teenager named Rin Okamura, this guy right here. Rin lives with his twin brother Yukio and their surrogate parent Father Fujimoto at the True Cross Church. Pressured by Father Fujimoto along with the other members of the church to kind of grow up and get his life together, Rin decides to leave his life of carelessness behind. Basically, Rin is a typical 15-year-old teenager, except he's a lot worse. He picks fights with people all the time. He can't hold on the job, and he hasn't even applied for high school. So Rin is ultimately at a dead-end point in his life, and he actually decides it's time to change that. He secures a job interview, and on the way there, he gets confronted by a group of bullies that he had recently gotten into a fight with. And during this fight, during this conversation at least, it escalates to a fight. And it kind of gets a little too carried away, where the leader of the group actually threatens Rin, and that he's about to kill him. And soon enough, Rin sees that the bully is actually a demon. He looks like a demon. And he's confused because none of the other group members are expressing kind of concern for what's going on. And right before Rin is really hurt, he basically gets set on fire, and he's confused, and Father Fujimoto turns up, saves him, performs an exorcist on the leader of the bully, and exorcises the demon. Really confused, Rin is taken back to the church by Father Fujimoto, where he is told that him and his brother are actually the children of Satan, and that Rin possesses demonic powers, which would explain the blue light. Angry at the fact that Father Fujimoto never told Rin or his brother this information, he is very upset, and ultimately Father Fujimoto gets possessed by a demon, but it's not just any demon, it's Satan himself. Those people that get possessed typically have a weak heart or a weak soul, or they are hurt. So the words by Rin had actually damaged Father Fujimoto's heart. Not literally, but metaphorically, by, his words took him back, and this caused Satan to go into his body. Rin barely gets out alive as Satan is trying to drag him back to hell, but not before then. Father Fujimoto overcomes the possession and ultimately gives his own life to save Rin, but not ultimately before Rin really commits his body to becoming a demon, going into demon form. Filled with anger, sadness, and guilt following Father Fujimoto's funeral, Rin meets a friend of Father Fujimoto, Mephisto Felis, and Felis reveals that he actually knows his true identity, what Rin really is. And due to that, he actually threatens Rin, and this is Mr. Felis here. And because of that, he wants to actually kill him. But Rin actually reveals that he wants to become an exorcist, like Father Fujimoto, so that he can ultimately one day fight and take down Satan. So that is the general premise of Blue Exorcist. The next aspect of Blue Exorcist I wanted to discuss was the actual characters of the story itself. From what I've read so far, I have a good understanding of what the main supporting cast is, as well as the main characters. But I really like what I've read so far. First off, you have Rin. He's the main character. Like I said, troubled teen. Typical shonen main character. After the death of someone close to him, he is determined to become more powerful and avenge him or her and defeat, whoever killed him. In this instance, it would be Rin, avenging the death of Father Fujimoto and defeating Satan. Next up is his brother, Yukio. Yukio is one of my favorite characters, alongside another character we'll talk about later, Bon. While Rin is good, Yukio is kind of a very polar opposite to Rin. He is technically his younger brother, as he was born later, even though they're twins. He lives a completely different life. He is extremely intelligent. He does not get into trouble, and he actually got accepted into the True Cross Academy, which is an elite private school, on a scholarship. But it's later revealed in the story that he's not only an exorcist, but he's actually a teacher at the exorcism cram school within True Cross Academy. So that just, tells you how smart he actually is, how capable he is as a character in this world. And yeah, I'm looking forward to reading more about him. We have Father Fujimoto here. And he is basically the guardian of the twins. You can see him in a couple panels here. He's a very, not cynical, but he's very sarcastic. He likes to joke around while conveying how serious he is. And, from what I read of him, I laughed every time he was on the page. So, very interesting character. I'm, typically how this type of stories goes. I'm actually interested to see if he comes back later in some other form. But, as of right now, I'm sad that we only got to be with this character for a short while. But it was really good while I got to know him in the story and got to read about him. Next up is Father Fujimoto's boy, Mephistopheles. This guy right here, this wacky looking dude, he's a very bizarre character, which, as a reader, you don't know what his intentions actually are. While he does let Rin live and become an exorcist, you don't really know if he's on his side, or if he's working with Satan to kind of take down Rin as well. So I'm interested to see what kind of his motivations are, as the story continues, and what side he ultimately is going towards. The next character in the story I would like to talk about is Shimi. This is her. She's the daughter of a shopkeeper where exorcists frequently gather, to get supplies. And she knows Yukio quite well. Following her meeting with Rin, it's actually discovered that she's possessed by a demon that is slowly killing her. And after this demon is exorcised by the twins, she actually decides to enlist in the exorcism cram school in order to build up her strength, because as a character, she is weak physically and emotionally. So her intention for going into True Cross Academy, into the exorcism cram school there, is to not necessarily yet become an exorcist, but kind of build up herself as a person, which I actually like. It kind of breaks the mold, and not everyone wants to be an exorcist, not everyone wants to be a leader. She's kind of doing this for herself. So Shimi is going to be one of my favorite characters in the story, and I'm looking forward to reading more about her. Next up is Ren's kind of rival in the story, and that is Ryuji, or also known as Bon. That's the nickname that his friends gave him. It's this guy right here. He looks like a punk rock kid, kind of an angsty teen. And his motivations for going to True Cross Academy are similar to Rin's, which I really like. And it doesn't seem like, after too long of meeting each other, they actually start getting on the same page. So they're not exactly rivals, all the way, but they kind of do see eye to eye on some stuff. Really another enjoyable character as well, and I look forward to reading more about him. next up, the two characters I want to talk about are actually Bond's friends. They are these guys right here. And that is Renzo, this guy here on the left of Bond, and Koni Kamaru, this guy right here. They are both classmates of Rin and friends of Bond. You know, they have their own kind of character traits and kind of, you know, they set themselves up in the story well, but other than that, they're just really the classmates of Rin and friends with Bond. They're there to mostly support him, you know, in battles and stuff. And the final character I want to talk about that kind of stuck out to me was Izumo. Izumo is really rude. She takes advantage of others, you know, particularly her classmates and her friends. She's really selfish, and it actually turns against her in a later battle, in one of the first battles of the series, which I really liked. You know, you don't see kind of, you know, someone possess a powerful weapon only for them to be turned against them. She's really criticized by her classmates for the treatment of other people. And I'm hoping she gets some sort of a redemption arc. Kind of in this first arc here, she showed some traits that she was kind of coming to terms of who she actually is and like how she treats people. So I'm hoping she grows a little more and becomes a little bit of a nicer person. But for right now, she's not really one of my favorite characters, but she is nonetheless a standout character for kind of the potential she has in the story, which I really look forward to seeing. The next aspect of Blue Exorcist that I would like to discuss is actually the world and the lore around the world itself. The world of Blue Exorcist is one that it's filled with demons and exorcists, obviously, and they are constantly at battle with one another. The demons of this world are invisible unless an individual is attacked by one, which then would cause that person to be infected with this thing called Temptaint, and Temptaint would basically allow them to see the demons in the world, ranging from larger demons to smaller demons. The demons of this world are actually categorized by power levels. They go from high to mid to low. High level demons are the most dangerous and have a great amount of power. You know, Satan, for example, would be in this category. And then you have your low level demons, and they do still contain a good amount of threat to them if there's a bunch at once. But typically they can be easily defeated by an exorcist, like it's nothing. An example of this would be Coltars. They're like these tiny little spore-looking things that kind of flutter around in the air, and they kind of surround themselves around individuals that have weak souls or are weak-willed, as they are more inclined to be influenced by the demons or even possessed, as they, you know, don't have a strong barrier to protect them. The exorcists of this world are also classified into different categories. There are 5 of them. The first one is a knight. An exorcist that is a knight, they use a sword or other melee weapons to fight. Rin would be considered one, as he uses his sword mainly to fight. The next up is a dragoon, and they use firearms typically to fight. Yukio would be a dragoon, as his main weapon is a pistol. A tamer can summon demons into a fight. Izumo is a tamer, and Shimi is a tamer, and they can basically, you know, draw like a pentagram looking thing and, you know, drop some blood, and they can possess, they can bring in demons that are possessed to fight for them into battle. An aria recites a demon's fatal verse, and basically what that means, in the Bible, every demon has a verse within the Bible that, if said out loud, will kill them instantly. But the problem is that there is a lot of verses in the Bible. Obviously, it's a thick book, so an aria must remember each and every single one of them, so that they can correctly assess the situation in battle and recite the correct one. And finally, there's a doctor, and they treat the wounds on exorcists during or after battles. Yukio would be considered a doctor as well, and that's a cool thing I really like about the exorcist, is that they can actually specialize in multiple classes. So like I said, Yukio is a dragoon and a doctor, and Bon is an aria and a knight. So he is, multiple characters in the story so far have shown their ability to kind of be able to have a lot of skills in that sense during battles. So I'm interested to see how the battles are actually carried out going forward once they're kind of out of this school and can actually learn new abilities. There are two main realms in this, in the universe of Blue Exorcist. There's the Asaya, and this is where humans live. It's basically like the mortal world. The ultimate goal of Satan is to actually take this over, and that's why there is a constant battle between exorcists and demons. And then there's Gehenna, and this is similar to their version of Hell. It's the home place of demons and Satan. The final aspect of Blue Exorcist that I want to talk about is my personal likes and dislikes about the story, my own impressions of it. So let's start off with the likes. The art by Kazue Kato is a true standout for me. The way that the characters are drawn are so unique, and it really seems like they are purposely drawn in a sense to bring out their personalities. A good example of this is actually Yukio. He is extremely kind of self-conscious about his body and the way he looks. And the author expresses that by, having a lot of moles drawn on him. It's a trait to him that is unique to him, and that it shows that, he's constantly talking about being insecure and whatnot, and it shows that in the art itself. You can actually, it's a lot of showing and telling, not just telling, which I really like. The world building so far has been another highlight. I'm constantly learning about the way that the world operates and the rules of the world, and it does not feel forced. It feels very natural. It comes up naturally in conversation, which I really like. So I'm looking forward to knowing more about this. It's really engaging in that sense where I'm never bored reading it. It's not like, oh, here's another lore fact that I'm never going to use or I'm never going to remember. It's something that I constantly want to keep knowing. And a final like that I have of this, it's that it's a really fun read. It's a typical shonen manga. You have most of the tropes that you see: an overpowered protagonist, a far out goal, conflicts between the main characters, and a villain that hasn't truly revealed his intentions yet, but they're building him up. This manga does not revolutionize the whole shonen genre. But it does enough to make this a very fun and enjoyable read, which is really important to me, as sometimes I just want to kick back and not really focus on a super intense story or a super serious story. I just want to be able to have fun while reading, and this is definitely something that I've had a lot of fun with so far. But with that being said, let's go right into the dislikes that I have. And there is not much except for one, and I'm going to turn back on the statement I said about this being a typical fun shonen read, and that can actually be a really big turnoff for people. This isn't something new. This isn't something that breaks the formula. This is a very generic shonen in the sense where it has a formula. It's following it. Like Rin is overpowered from the get-go. He's given a sword and he's really proficient with it right away. He's thrusted into this world and still manages to get by without knowing much. Sometimes things just make sense. They fit where they should, but not without much explanation. They're kind of like, here, something happened, deal with it, which can be a turnoff for some. But like I said, overall, I think there are a lot of positives about this, and it's a series that I really enjoy reading so far. And those were my first impressions of Blue Exorcist. Like I said, so far, it's a series that I see more positives in it than negatives. While it is a typical shonen manga, it does a lot to kind of try and separate itself from its unique art style, to its fun characters, to its engaging story, and its really unique world that Kazue Kato has done a wonderful job at setting up, and hopefully will continue to do so. When doing research into this series and kind of preparing for this video, I did kind of spoil something for myself, where it seems that the general consensus is that the series loses a lot of its steam in the future arcs, which I'm really disappointed to hear. But nonetheless, I still want to give it my own opinion and continue reading the series, which I do plan on doing. I will continue to pick this up until I just simply don't have fun with it anymore. And I believe this is a series that people should give it a chance, especially right now. You can have some lighthearted things in your life, and kind of just sit back and enjoy something for what it is. And this is a typical shonen manga that has very unique elements to it that I really enjoyed while reading it. I wanted to thank you guys so much for coming out and watching another video. I really do appreciate your support. If you have any other video suggestions or things you would like to see, let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.